This is Whataburger Friday Night Stars, presented by Game On Sports, live from the Star in Frisco, Texas, and the Dallas Cowboys headquarters. Here's Kyle Yeomans, Zach Walchuk, Eric Chiafalo, and Heckma Harrison.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Star in Frisco, Texas. Whataburger Friday Night Stars, live from the Dallas Cowboys headquarters. And tonight it's the headquarters for Texas high school football. Glad you're with us. As the fancy VO announcer man said, I'm Kyle Yeomans alongside Heckma Harrison, Zach Walchuk, and the great Eric Chiafalo.
Let's get it going.
Let's go.
We've had an outstanding night of high school football
Kyle,
throughout the area.
can I give you one update before you start just rolling down
my
what we got?
goodness.
What we got? Because this is a game that we don't have as a highlighted game, so
Okay.
we're probably not going to get to it otherwise.
Feed me.
And it
Tell
was
me
a
about
double overtime barn burner in McKinney, and Plano East has won it, 45-42.
Are you sure this time?
100%.
Nice.
Nobody knew that. This is overtime, 45-42 in double overtime. Plano East knocks off McKinney, a big win for the Panthers to avoid a 3-game slide in that district. It was Angel Martinez's 39-yard field goal that did it. Their defense got a stop on McKinney in their opening drive. They kicked the field goal to win it, that 39-yarder. So a big win for Plano East to still sit comfortably in third right now in District 9.
Couple of game-winning field goals tonight, huh?
Yeah, a couple game-winning field goals. We'll get to one of those here in just a moment. But yeah, Plano East with a big-time win. They're now 3-2 in District 9 6A play. And like you said, avoiding a 3-game losing streak after starting the season undefeated. And once they played Allen, things kind of went off the rails a little bit. We'll talk about the Red Rail rivalry coming up in a little bit as well. But like you mentioned, and you kind of alluded to just a moment ago, Eric, a game-winning field goal of the sorts.
Caden Davis?
Not Caden Davis.
Oh, it's
No
not Caden
way.
Smith?
Another
kicker
Caden
not
Davis
named
is-
I am surprised.
I didn't
No,
know
it
there
is
were other
not.
kickers out there.
But we are going to go to the fan tag cam as a little bit of a prelude to our recap of this battle in Keller. Keller Fossil Ridge from 30 yards out wins it as they were down by 2, 20-19. Keller Fossil Ridge over Keller Timber Creek. Timber Creek led this game earlier, 16-3 was the score, and well, they get it done. The huge comeback. Second half was all Eric, like you talked about.
It was all Eric in that segment.
It was all me.
He
Eric,
willed
like you talked
Fossil
about,
Ridge to victory.
It was that extra really jolt from a quarterback change for Fossil Ridge.
Yeah, man, and the first half was real downer for Fossil Ridge, offensively in particular. They only put up 3 points, so I don't know. Again, we'll have to find out when we call a reporter here in just a second. But at halftime, they go in with Scotty Colas as their quarterback. They come out with my man, Austin Stolman. And he comes out there, 92 yards, goes 5 for 7, 2 touchdown passes in the third quarter, which really propelled this team to make it a field goal game. So credit to Stolman, credit to Fossil Ridge, great comeback.
Yeah, and what an atmosphere that must have been in a crucial district game. And we've got Luke Trujillo on the line. Luke, thanks so much for joining us again here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. We're looking at some of your footage right now. That atmosphere tonight, Luke, was incredible, but mostly this game-winning field goal. Tell us about what happened ensuing that game-winning shot.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. So Fossil Ridge just really drained that clock out to end that game to make sure that they had that final field goal. They were just running the ball hard-nosed down the middle, barely passing it, but it was just a hard-nosed drive to just seal the game at the end.
Luke, talk to me about the quarterback situation with Fossil Ridge. Obviously, we know they struggled in the first half, and Scotty Colas has been their guy all year. He's been pretty good for him at quarterback. Did he get hurt? What happened? Because in the second half, Austin Stolman comes out, puts together a great performance, comeback victory. What did Colas get pulled, or did he get injured?
Colas, he was just, I think they just pulled him just because of his inaccuracy in the first half, overthrowing or underthrowing. But, Stallman was actually my key player to watch in the game before the game started. He has a crazy arm out there, and it was great to see them come back at the end of the game. It was a completely different game in the second half, and I know it was because of the quarterback play for sure.
Hey, Luke, this is Heckma here, man. I got a question for you. How did Timber Creek lose this game? They had it won. How did they let them off the hook in the second half?
The first half, they were using their big physical wide receivers, and in the second half, they were not throwing it to them anymore. I don't know why. Number 7 is a good running back for Timber Creek, but he just wasn't getting it done the way they needed to, and the receivers, I guess, just weren't open in the second half, and Fossil Ridge just took advantage of that.
Yeah, definitely. So Luke Trujillo on the line from Fossil Ridge as Fossil Ridge wins it 20-19. Luke, thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you again next week, buddy.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good night.
All right, you too.
It sounds like Timber Creek may got a little bit stiff in the second half, a little bit conservative. We know coming into the game, Blake Irving, that running back, that rushing attack is what they live on, and maybe they just went to it a little bit too much, got a little conservative, thought they could have the lead, run it out.
They went to prevent in third quarter.
Didn't happen.
Well, hey, maybe they did, but I think the better team won in this one, right?
Yeah.
They needed enough spark, alert for that coaching staff to say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and make that quarterback change. They did it. It led them to victory.
Stolman, what a night.
Yeah, what a night for Stolman, and Fossil Ridge gets a close victory. Let's go into some of these highlighted games. Argyle and Melissa. This is a matchup in 7-4A. Coming into it, Argyle undefeated. Melissa coming off of a big win last week against Salina. Well, Argyle flexes their muscle again. This first Friday final for you here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. Argyle with over 620 yards total offense. My goodness, the Eagles are back at it again.
Yeah, and they're going for it. Probably going to get their 10th straight district championship coming into this one. And these were the two of the top 3 teams in the area in 4A. So you look at this score, and it's not like Argyle played some slouch in Melissa. This was a team in Brendan Lewis at quarterback for Melissa, who's a TCU commit, and this Argyle D shut him down through the air. Only 102 yards, did have a touchdown, and on the grounds where Lewis has been doing a lot of his damage, only 47 yards. So give Bo Hogaboom a lot of love at quarterback for Argyle. 4 touchdown passes, about 360 yards passing. And then Tito Bice, that's been the 1-2 punch. 188 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Argyle keeps rolling, man.
Argyle's honking good because Melissa has been good this year. The 2 games they lost by 7 points or less.
Yeah.
Argyle goes out and wins by 30.
Argyle's got to be a favorite in 4A, no doubt about it.
Oh,
man.
with an
number
impressive
one team
win
in the
like
state,
this,
man. They are awesome.
You've got to look at them and see them in that number 1 spot again, now at 8-0. How about Bishop Lynch and Bishop Dunn? Bishop Lynch had the ball late in this ball game. Bishop Dunn leading the majority of the game, but late in the game, a big-time sack and a stop on 4th and 15 powers Bishop Dunn, and the Falcons win this one 21-13, guys.
Every time we talk about Bishop Lynch, it's almost win, and they're just right there. And it's got to be a sickening way to go through your season for the Friars, but that's just the way that it is. I mean, Bishop Dunn has all the athletes, guys. Simeon Evans has done everything for the Dunn offense today, basically throwing for 138 yards and also running for 2 touchdowns. The kid was basically unstoppable. And also, Jaden Hullaby had a good showing tonight on 84 yards on 21 carries. But it's all about the Dunn defense holding Bishop Lynch to under 100 yards, rushing and receiving.
Yeah, outstanding day for Bishop Dunn defensively, and that's really their bread and butter right there. And I can't wait, man. In 2 weeks, they go on the road to take on that Prestonwood Christian Academy offense with Dylan Cadwallader, man. Woo! That is a matchup to wait for in the season finale. That defense against that offense.
Oh, we're going to talk about that Prestonwood team here in just a little bit, too, because they were impressive tonight against Parrish. And we're going to skip over Cedar Hill, South Grand Prairie just for a quick moment. We're going to look at Flower Mound and Flower Mound Marcus. These are 2 teams that we talked about earlier in the original show, the battle for the Mound Showdown. Well, it wasn't much of a showdown, and for the first time since 2010, Flower Mound and the Jags clinch a playoff spot.
Let's give a round of applause.
Outstanding.
For the
That's
Jags,
awesome.
man.
That is awesome.
The way they did it, though, over 670 yards. They almost tapped 700 yards of total offense in this win.
Yeah, Blake Short is balling, guys. He is having a phenomenal season. And again, guys, when you look at the DFW area, there are so many great quarterbacks that we have in the city. You can't just point to one and say, this guy is better than that guy. Everybody brings something different, but Blake Short is definitely playing out of his mind this year. He is one of the reasons why Flower Mound is having the success that they're having, but also Pierce Hudgens. Guys, this is another kid, 207 yards No, 297 yards. I need my glasses. 297 yards.
Holy cow, they almost 700 of total offense.
297 yards. 5 touchdowns for Pierce Hudgens. He could not be stopped tonight. I mean, look, guys, applause is in order for Flower Mound because they went out and they took it to the Marauders tonight.
And they've proven they're the real deal, and I think you got to give credit to that rush defense from Flower Mound. The Jags shutting down Justin Dinka, 9 carries, 14 yards, and they took Marcus out of that game plan. They're forced to put the ball in the air to try and come back. Great all-around team win for Flower Mound.
Yeah, all-around team win and an impressive win. The 7 yards stands out, but also the 700 almost yards total offense definitely stands out either way.
Well, and that 7 yards rushing was like negative 10 yards rushing for a lot of that game, and then they ended up getting into the positive favor there. But still, yeah, like you mentioned, Walchuk, shutting down Justin Dinka in that rushing attack is a tough thing to do. And I guess the Mound showdown goes to Marcus.
Here's your mound, Flower Mound.
They get over the mound and are able to get into playoffs for the first time.
And then they get to claim the mound as theirs.
Yeah.
How fun is that? How fun is that?
To sit on the mound in all of its glory.
It's a whole thing. How about Frisco Lone Star and Frisco Centennial, a matchup in 5A Division I, and this is really what we looked at earlier as a chance for Frisco Lone Star to separate themselves in that district, and they do just that. Usually the defense is the star for Frisco and the Lone Star, but tonight, not the case. 48 points put up by the Lone Star Rangers, and they are impressive again after a tight loss last week.
And I think that was one, I talked about it. I thought that Lone Star would have that offensive explosion. The way that they lost on that hook and ladder to the Colony last week, they were going to come back with something to prove, and it all started early. Marvin Mims is the guy for Lone Star. He's Julian Larry's favorite target. He'd been really kept quiet for the last few weeks, and he broke out today. 6 catches, 230 yards, 4 touchdowns for Marvin Mims and Julian Larry. Finally, that big day through the air. 5 touchdown passes, over 300 yards passing. This was what Lone Star needed to get back on track and be that 5A power that many of us thought that they would be.
Yeah, more than anything, when you have a great defense, the thing that complements a great defense is a great running game. Look at that, man, 158 yards on the ground. They did it. If they can stay with this formula, guys, they're going to be hard to beat because that defense doesn't give up anything.
No, not at all. I mean, held Highland Park, who's probably the most explosive offense in 5A, to just 10 points. Is incredible how good that defense is.
Yeah, they are extremely, extremely incredible. But you look on the other side, the team that beat them last week, the Colony, sitting at 6-1, and they are in the driver's seat for District 5A. Lone Star trying to chase the Colony. Well, the Colony had another tough test this week against Frisco Wakeland, and we got a chance to look at the couple of these games earlier, and you look at the Colony rolling out against Frisco Wakeland, and they end up getting the victory over Wakeland in this ball game. And once again, the Colony just continued to roll. 42-17, the final score from this one.
Yeah, man, the Colony, we said it coming in from an emotional win over Lone Star on basically the final play of the game last week, hook and ladder. And then you come in here tonight against a Frisco Wakeland team who's, they're a little bit limited offensively. We know they lost their quarterback to Preston Wood, so they've been kind of trying to figure it out. They're a good, rushing team. They need to run the ball with their 2 backs.
But they were coming off a big win against Independence last week, who's a playoff team.
Absolutely. So Wakeland's certainly not a pushover team by any means, but the Colony, and they kept it close at halftime. It was only 14-7. Colony was up by a touchdown at the half, and then they kind of just blew the doors off the thing in the fourth quarter, 21 points, and they end up racking up 505 yards of total offense, and we know they average 49 points a game at home. They put up 42 today, and that's really just because of a semi-slow start to the first half. But way to close the game for the Colony, and this is a team to be reckoned with, man. That 3-headed monster offensively with Mikey Harrington at quarterback, Jaden Abdallah at running back, and Miles Price. Miles Price had himself a night tonight like he seems to always do. That's just going to be a really, really tough team to beat when you think about the balance that they have with the explosive offense. And not only that, but they can pass and run the ball, so they're balanced offensively, but they're balanced as a team because they also have a great defense.
Yeah,
so
and Miles Price is the man. I mean, that dude, 159 total yards, 2 scores. He might be the best player in that district, and that includes all the talent on Frisco Lone Star.
That's something to say.
Offensively, Miles Price is the real deal, man. He's a problem for defenses out there.
Yeah, Miles Price, the real deal. But what about Trajan Bridges.
Trajan Bridges.
Man,
from the David Robinson school, right?
Yeah, David Robinson, of course. We talked about that earlier as well. A wide receiver trainer, Trajan Bridges, one of those many wide receivers. 24-17. Hebron and the Hawks win this one over Irving MacArthur and the Cardinals. Once again, Hebron, just another close game for the Hawks. It seems like they can never get a runaway victory.
No, absolutely. This team's been in tight ones left and right. Fortunately, they come out on top on this one. And Carson Harris at quarterback, he ran for a bunch, he threw for a bunch, and this was a defensive game here. I mean, MacArthur, we knew coming into the game, they've depended on their defense all season long, and they stayed true tonight. Even in their losses, they only give up 24 points on average, and it's just a shame because the offense just struggles to get going. They can run the ball a little bit, but through the air they struggle, and they even did a good job against Trajan Bridges today. They kept him out of the end zone, which is a really, really difficult thing to do. But Hebron's got this guy, Isaiah Broadway. We brought him up a couple of weeks ago. He's a freshman. He's a monster. He was injured a little bit in the season. He's back now, and he was the reason why they were able to do some things offensively. When you shut down Trajan Bridges, which is a feat in itself, and then they answer you with a young guy in Broadway, that's a good win for Hebron because that's an Irvin MacArthur defense that is really, really tough.
Yeah, Irvin MacArthur is going to have to bring more to the table than just their defense. And like I said at the beginning, guys, of the telecast about Irvin MacArthur, I think they were surprised that they scored 14 points against Hebron.
Yes.
And as you can tell, they shut it down in the second half and tried to put the onus on the defense to win the game for them. But Hebron just too much.
Yeah, and the MacArthur defense is good enough to win them games, but when they go up against the really, really good teams, they usually end up losing. The teams they beat had a combined record of 6-23 coming into this week. So they haven't been able to put together offensively enough to beat the good teams. Mm-hmm. They just beat up on the lowly teams.
Well, they're just not a playoff team, Irving Mack. And a win today would have been an upset and it would have put them in the conversation. But for Hebron, they did what they had to do. It was not an impressive performance for them at all, but they held on to get the victory.
Yeah, and you get a W like that in district play. Any district game is a good win, because you get another one on top of that.
A win's a win's a win, right?
A win's a win's a win. How about Grapevine and Colleyville Heritage? This is a game we teased at the start of overtime. How about the battle for the Red Rail? Crosstown rivalry, of course, the Red Rail separating Grapevine and Colleyville, but Colleyville Heritage fell in this game really from the get-go as Grapevine took it over, I should say, really early in this football game, 59-20, as Grapevine ends up on top. And we've got Guy Frazier on the phone. Guy, first off, thanks for joining us again here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. We're looking at some footage of yours currently, and this was just another dominating performance from Grapevine. Colleyville Heritage just really didn't have it tonight.
Yeah, man, that was a lot of fun. That's a fun rivalry game. But Grapevine, if you look at the statistics side of things in the football game, it doesn't look like Grapevine really dominated Colleyville all that much, but they really did tonight. They offensively beat up on Colleyville. And another thing that kind of stood out tonight was they had 21 points off of either turnovers that they were able to cause on defense or a kickoff return. And, that still would have made them have a comfortable lead. But adding that 21 points onto their side of the scoreboard really helped their cause tonight.
Hey, Guy, what's going on, man? This is Heckma. Now, you got to tell me about the temperament of both teams going through this game. Was there any almost ejections today?
We actually did have an ejection on a targeting call. It was in play. Colleyville kids going over the middle on a crossing route and just got sandwiched by two Grapevine kids. One of the kids led with his helmet a little bit. Next thing you know, he's off to the locker room and no pads on after that. So we did have one ejection.
Guy, Zach with you. I got to ask, because it was rumored to be true, were there streakers tonight from both teams? And secondly, tell me what your thoughts on that Grapevine offense, because it seems like they are just a well-oiled machine, man, with Cade Rhodes leading the ship.
Okay, well, on the first part, no streakers tonight.
That's an upset.
I was on the lookout for it. It never happened.
Darn it.
Festive environment nonetheless, though. But, yeah, that offense for Grapevine is a well-oiled machine. They kind of lull you to sleep. A lot of short game. They run a lot of screens, a lot of short routes, which is basically just like a run play for them. A little bit of mid-range stuff, and then they'll hit you down the field with like a smash route or a go route. and capitalize on that. So, they're methodical. They work their way down the field, and they'll hit you with a big play every so often as well.
Guy, we saw that Cam Brown got injured in this game for Colleyville Heritage. How much of an effect did that have on the Heritage offense once really their best player went down?
Well, he actually never played to start the game. Somehow I missed that pregame, but we're sitting there in the first quarter. I'm like, there's no Cam Brown. I heard he was in a boot on the Colleyville sideline, so he actually never touched the field tonight. But I got to think that had some sort of an effect on them. It's interesting. I expected them to have a little bit more play in the air tonight, but a lot of their damage that they were able to do was from the ground. So, I'm not sure if that was because Cam was hurt or if that was their game plan from the get-go.
Another big win for Grapevine as they move on with a win over Colleyville Heritage, 59-20, the final score. Guy Frazier on the phone with us from Colleyville, or I guess Southlake and Dragon Stadium. Guy, thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, appreciate it, fellas. I'll see y'all.
Guy had a couple good games this week with Grapevine and Colleyville Heritage. He was also at Geyer and Eaton last night. Couple good games, couple good matchups.
Working hard,
Good
man.
football.
And that Grapevine and Ryan game starts to look really
Huge
exciting.
game.
next
Can't
week.
wait for that one,
Huge
man.
game with the offense at Grapevine, and obviously we know the Denton Ryan defense. That's building up to be quite the showdown.
That'll be the test we've been waiting for that Ryan offense, man, because, they've been in a lot of games where that special teams and that defense is taking control, but they haven't had to rely on that offense. They might next week.
Well, a big difference in that game is going to be Drew Sanders. Drew Sanders is very familiar with the Grapevine offense.
True.
So with that being said, we're going to move on to Zach Wolchuk's alma mater. Plano and the Wildcats.
Oh, there's got to be such a deep pause every time we do
I don't know.
this.
We need violin music right here.
Just something. 42-27. Plano over Jesuit. It almost certainly sinks the Rangers in terms of their playoff hopes, and it all was at the hands of Kyron Cumby. 135 yards on 16 carries, 3 touchdowns on the ground with 5 passes caught and 103 total yards in a dominant win. We've got Derek Finch on the phone. Derek was live from John Clark Stadium. And Derek, first off, thanks for joining us. Second off, Kyron Cumby was unbelievable tonight, not just on the ground, but in the passing game as well. Cumby really was all over the place.
Yeah, I was surprised. I saw him in pregame, and I thought, he's kind of a little dude. I don't know what he's going to be doing out here. And the game started, and, little dudes sometimes are pretty fast, and he's definitely one of those. He had a special night tonight, not just running the ball, but also, you mentioned it, receiving. He was one of only 2 Plano players to catch a pass, and really the other pass, I think, was only 1 for 6 yards. So he was dominant in every offensive aspect.
Derek, all right, so for Plano, we know they're a run-heavy team. The question has been through the air. What did you see from that Plano passing attack? And on the flip side, E.J. Smith got his on the ground with 184 yards and 3 touchdowns. But without Kevin Schumann, how did that Jesuit passing attack look against the Plano D?
Oh, man. It's funny you asked me about the Jesuit passing attack. The best pass play of the game was a trick play by E.J. Smith. Threw it deep down the right side and had a completion. Yeah, it was a rough one for the quarterback. Threw a pick, had a fumble. I hate to dog on a kid, but I wasn't really impressed with quarterback play at all. For Plano, I wasn't impressed with their quarterback play either, but I really didn't need to be. Their whole offense was just built around Cumby, and he seemed to always be open. So I guess in that aspect, yeah, Plano passing attack was outstanding.
Yeah, another big win for Plano, and it's huge in their playoff implications. Derek, thanks so much for joining us. 42-27 the final score. Drive safe on your way home. We'll talk to you again next week.
All right, Plano.
Hey, that's the way you hang up the phone.
Showing you some love.
Hey, well, we'll accept some of that. We love Jesuit, though. It's such a disappointing season. That probably knocks him out of the hunt. Plano now gets Boyd next week for another big district matchup. Every game's a playoff game now for Plano.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And you look at, we talked about this earlier, but we're going to talk about it again. E.J. Smith, Kevin Schumann, 2 guys going into that Jesuit offense that you circled on the start of the season on the roster and said these guys are going to be difference makers, not only just in the city or in the North Texas area, but in the entire state. And they've just not necessarily as a team lived up to the expectations. Smith and Schumann have played well, and there's a
Schumann
reason.
hurt. Schumann not playing.
Schumann not playing tonight, but. With that being said, it just seems like those two guys have not had the support around them that is necessary for a playoff team to have.
Not at all, and I think a lot of that has to do with defense. You know, they struggled on defense. They haven't been able to stop anybody. They've had to be in shootouts, and Jesuit just hasn't been able to make the plays in crunch time to get them victory.
And Jesuit's gotten off to a lot of slow starts this year. They've been in a lot of games where they have to storm back in the second half, and it's usually just not quite enough to get the victory.
How about just overestimating what they're going to do? I mean, if this you ranked them wrong. You know, they're not the team that you thought.
No, you're right. Jesuit wasn't the team we thought they were, and Plano's turned their season around. We thought they were dead and buried 2 weeks ago, excuse me.
Right.
And now all of a sudden a huge win over East and a blowout win at home over Jesuit, and they're sitting there looking like, hey, they could be a playoff team.
Yeah, that's tough. And Plano really needing to finish the season strong, because that loss to McKinney now looks even bigger because McKinney's playing well. They did lose in a tight double overtime game tonight, 42 points plus for both teams in that game against Plano East, but Plano needs to win out, like you said. It's a playoff game for Plano and the Wildcats to move on. How about Lake Dallas and Lovejoy, District 7 5A Division 2? Lovejoy coming in at 5-1. They had a big-time loss last week. 51-0 was the final score as they were beaten by Frisco Reedy. Frisco Reedy, by the way, rolls again tonight at the Ford Center. But Lovejoy got on the board early, put up 31 points in the first quarter, and other than that, Lake Dallas furiously came back but were unable to catch the Leopards. 31-27 the final score.
Yeah, Ja Rainey, as you see right there, going for an 8-yard score. It came down to the fact that Lake Dallas needed to play desperate tonight in order to get a victory. Just didn't happen. The only weapon that they had all night long was going to be Ryan Deppersmith, and he just ran out of gas at the end of the game. You gotta credit what Lovejoy is doing. Like you said, the one loss that they have being to Frisco Reedy, which I think everybody is saying that Reedy is the real deal.
Yeah.
But again, Lovejoy is definitely that team to be reckoned with. And Lake Dallas, this is a pretty tough loss for them. I think this puts them at 4th place in their district now.
I think it puts them at 5th place overall.
It's a crusher, man. It really and you talked about, hey, their defense hasn't been that good. Depperschmidt's felt like he had to be the guy. He's turned the ball over a little bit this year, but they had a chance to win it. You got to give Lovejoy's defense some credit. They were shut out They were shut out in the second half offensively. Their defense gets absolutely blown up. Lake Dallas is trying to come back and win it. They get all the way to the 18-yard line, and a big Lovejoy sack sealed the victory for them tonight. So that defense, bend but don't break. They made the play when they had to do it, and a huge win for Lovejoy.
Even despite giving up 498 total yards from Lake Dallas, the majority of that coming in the second half, whereas Lovejoy, the majority of their offense was in the first half. So it'll be interesting to see how Lovejoy will respond after not necessarily playing extremely well in that second half. And going in next week maybe has a little bit of doubt maybe from their offense heading into that game. Luckily, they do have Denison, who has not been one of the greatest teams in that district, coming up next weekend before they take on Frisco, who right now is in playoff position there. But before we move on to some of our other games, we're going to take a quick break here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars Overtime. We've got a lot to get to, and we are rolling through Week 9 of Texas High School football live from the Star in Frisco, Texas. We'll be back in just about 3 minutes or so.
Hey football fans, check this out. It's called FanTag, the easiest way to get video highlights from all of your games. As a parent, I know the value of capturing our kids' special moments on video. FanTag makes it easy to relive a memory or share it with family, friends, and recruiters. Download the FanTag app, and on game day, find your event and get instant highlights delivered right to your phone. So never miss a moment. Try FanTag today. It's free.
Little ideas can turn into big dreams. Big dreams require careful planning and the right partner. A partner dedicated to helping you take care of your employees, protect your business, and plan for the future. It's sometimes overwhelming. It's often exciting. It's your story, and we can help. SWBC.
Today at Whataburger, we're cooking the sweet and spicy bacon burger.
The sweet and spicy bacon burger is my all-time favorite.
I love this burger. It's just perfect.
2 beef patties, 2 different types of cheese, caramelized onions. My favorite thing about this burger is the sweet and spicy pepper sauce and the bacon. You get it in every bite.
Nothing beats this.
The sweet and spicy bacon burger is an all-time favorite at Whataburger.
That's happiness.
Week 9 of Texas High School football. We come to you live from inside the Star in Frisco. Beautiful headquarters to the Dallas Cowboys. That's just outside their locker room, their weight facilities and everything, just down the hallway from us as we are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios. Whataburger Friday Night Stars presented by Game On Sports. We're glad you're with us here for Week 9 of Texas High School football. And we've got one more segment to get you going here for Friday Night Stars Overtime. And let's start things off with the number 1 team in the entire state. McKinney Boyd on the road against that number 1 team. McKinney Boyd's not the number 1 team. I got confused. Let me just get that straight. Allen and the Eagles, impressive in their win again against McKinney Boyd. 66 points put up on the board by Allen and the Eagles. Just another unbelievable game from Coach Gamble and the boys from up north.
Isn't that shocking? I can't believe Allen won a game.
Wow.
I really thought McKinney Boyd was going to come.
Oh, darn.
They did what they're supposed. Look, they came in averaging 35-point victories within this district. They just grew that average by a 66-point win. They improved to 8-0, unbeaten in 9-6A. McKinney Boyd drops to 2-3. Their playoff hopes, if they drop a game next week against Plano, I think they're pretty much done. That's an elimination game coming up next week. But Allen did what Allen does. Grant Tisdale, 4 touchdowns on the ground. Keldon Manning had 1. Theo Weiss had 2 touchdown receptions. Allen's the best team in the state for a reason. They took care of business today.
Yeah, they definitely did. Put up big-time numbers. Not a surprise. 512 yards of total offense. And, man, Allen just looks like they're unbeatable, and for good reason, because they have not been beaten yet.
I'm sure the starters only had to play the first half, you know.
Maybe a quarter.
How
who
nice
knows?
is that? You show up to work, you know, I'm going to get paid for the full day, but I only got to go a half day.
Look, guys, the toughest opponents they play are the guys they face in practice until they get into the playoffs. That's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
And when they meet up with, what's that team they're definitely meeting up with?
Look out for the Duncanville Panthers, baby.
I'm telling you, hey, I coined them last week and nobody picked up on it, the Duffel Bag Boys.
The Duffel Bag.
I'm
I
calling
like
them that because they're big and they're moving.
I like that.
I'm telling you, this is going to be a matchup that we see is going to happen at AT&T Stadium. It can't happen anywhere else because it's going to be jam-packed in that place. And, man, this is the only matchup that's going to matter.
I hope it happens.
Yeah.
Crossing our fingers that
If
that
the
matchup
football
happens.
gods are out there.
Oh, and they're out there.
That matchup will happen.
It will.
Guys, we've got a matchup kind of that same type of, at least, feel at the TAPS level today. Parish Episcopal and Prestonwood Christian Academy, PCA, and Parrish, two of the top teams in the entire state in the TAPS levels. And Prestonwood, really, they trailed this game early. 24-23 was the score originally, but they put on the money later in that game, and Prestonwood pulls away for a 42-24 win.
Yeah, despite an unprecedented amount of penalties, 15 penalties for 143 yards there for PCA. I mean, this was a game build of the quarterbacks. You got the sophomore sensation Preston Stone for Parrish coming in, 24 touchdowns to 4 INTs on the year. Dylan Cadwallader, the Wakeland transfer for PCA, over 2,000 yards passing, and each of them did their thing today, but it was Cadwallader who did the most damage, 4 touchdown passes, just under 400 yards, and for PCA, this was a game of runs. They got up 9-0, then Parrish came back, would take the lead, and PCA scored the final 4 times, got 2 touchdowns late in the third, a couple of field goals to tack on in the fourth quarter. So for PCA, the reigning TAPS state champions, they showed why they're the reigning state champions, going on the road and knocking off an upstart Parrish Episcopal team.
PCA is just a tough team this year.
They just play great football.
Definitely, man. Riley Wilson had a gang of big plays, and, man, he was the difference in this one.
Yeah, he definitely was. And we've got Jackson Donovan, who was on the call for this game, Prestonwood and Parrish Episcopal. He's on the phone with us right now. And, Jackson, first off, how impressive were these two quarterbacks today? Because, man, Preston Stone, along with really the entirety of that Prestonwood offense, I don't even want to kind of set one guy apart because that entire offense was incredible, but how fun was that to watch?
It was absolutely incredible. There were 4 lead changes in the first half alone and then another 3 in the third quarter. It was one of the best football games you could see if you just wanted to sit down and enjoy good Texas high school football.
Jackson, were there any hook and ladders or anything that went on in this game that we should know about?
Not this week, but there were 2 diving catches in the first half and a couple of the You Got Moss plays that could have ended up on NFL Live. It was very impressive what the receiving core of both teams was able to do.
What was Prestonwood able to do really in the second half to slow down and really dominate the third and fourth quarter?
It came down to the fact that Prestonwood was really, of the 2 teams, the only one to get a running game going. Tim Taylor was absolutely impressive. He is a very elusive back. He's not very big, kind of a Darren Sproles-esque type of player, but 103 yards and a touchdown. He was very impressive in this game, making a lot of defenders look silly.
Now, I'll tell you what, this is Heckma here. I'm my guy, Preston Stone at Parrish Episcopal. I have been dying to get someone to tell me about this kid that's seen him firsthand. What did you think about this kid? What did you think about the arm?
I think if you want to find someone to talk about him, tonight was not the night to give their impression. He was a little bit out of it. I don't know. With senior night, all 3 of his top wide receivers, including his brother Parker and the Overton brothers, are seniors, and so they were honored before the game. And I don't know if the pressure got to him. I really hope it didn't. But tonight he had an opportunity to show off his guns, but he was overthrowing, dropping balls short. He has the talent. He showed poise tonight that you just don't see in a young sophomore quarterback. But he made some plays that really, I don't know if he just overthought it, but he could have just slowed himself down. There were 3 times in this game they had to call a timeout just because he wasn't able to get the guys to the line quick enough.
Yeah, definitely so. Jackson Donovan on the call for Prestonwood and Parrish Episcopal. He's on the phone with us here for Whataburger Friday Night Stars. Jackson, thanks so much, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
No problem. See y'all later.
There he goes, Jackson Donovan. He was at that hook and ladder play last week with the Colony. He gets another good one this week, but he was doing play-by-play this week.
Good for him.
Wasn't actually filming for him this week. But, guys, we've got some prediction games to get to. Very quickly. How about Highland Park and Sunset before we get to those prediction games? Just real quickly.
You can just mention what the Scotties
Oh, man.
You got to tell us. That wasn't a prediction game.
No, it wasn't. But I want to hit it really quickly.
Win if you want.
Yeah, Highland Park, they just dismantled Sunset overall. Not really a surprise as the Scotties put it on Sunset. What is Sunset's mascot, by the way?
I don't. It looks like a buffalo.
Are they the Buffaloes?
If Rockwall's deciding, it's probably the moon.
Oh, okay. Well, 72 to nothing.
Oh, my gosh, that's great.
That's the final score. And
what?
That's the last time we're going to talk about that game tonight.
Now, you got to find something disappointing in it. There's something
Oh
happened
my
that
gosh,
you don't
they only
like.
scored
I
72
don't think
points.
so.
Chandler Morris only had 4 touchdowns. Finn Corman only had 2 receiving. Benner Page only had 2 rushing touchdowns. Here's what we can talk about. Highland Park, Lancaster. Next week, they'll finally get a district test. Let's move on.
That's going to be a lot of fun to look at next week. But you talked about the 4 touchdowns for Chandler Morris. That came in the first quarter.
Oh, my goodness.
He didn't play after the first quarter.
Wow.
Wow.
It's another good night at work.
Yeah,
huh?
man, you get paid
Yeah.
the full paycheck.
Exactly.
Jeez.
How about Mansfield, Lake Ridge? Mansfield and the Tigers led this game early. But how about Mansfield, Lake Ridge winning this football game 37-30 and taking really a dagger to the Tigers' playoff hopes?
Without Chandler Rogers to be able to come back against, basically it's a rivalry game, and you do it with your backup quarterback down in the second half. Lake Ridge has had quite the season, and it just stays. I mean, it's a miracle season that just keeps getting even better.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, for Mansfield, we knew, hey, this is a team that plays with a lot of grit. They've played up in these rivalry games before. I thought it would be competitive, but Lake Ridge is the better team. Without Chandler Rogers, you knew it would be tough because that's really their identity, but they found a way to get it done. Big win for Lake Ridge, even though they did get a scare.
Yeah, had the backup quarterback step up in this
Heck,
win.
you look a little perplexed.
I'm not perplexed. This
You're
is
just like, thank goodness Lake Ridge won. It's just a sigh of
That's
relief.
exactly what I'm saying.
Well, all of us picked Lake Ridge in our prediction.
I
game,
understand.
So it
I
doesn't
almost
matter.
went Mansfield on that one. So
Okay.
Oh, you did almost go Mansfield.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, so that's why you've been thinking the whole time, man, if Mansfield won. Okay, I got you.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, how about Mansfield Summit and DeSoto? I decided to go out on a limb. I was by myself off to the side picking
How is that limb?
Mansfield
How's that
Summit.
limb?
You're still by yourself.
Well, it was 14-14, and that limb has since snapped because DeSoto wins it 40-21, 518 yards total. Even despite 9 penalties and 82 yards for DeSoto, they're able to kind of reel things in that second half and come away with a big win.
518 yards on offense for the Eagles. Look, they lost the game earlier in the season, and I think they've been a little PO'd about it for this whole time. So they're playing with a little bit of vengeance on their mind, and they know that was a game that they had won, as they would be sitting undefeated right now.
Yeah, I mean, they did their thing. They are super athletic, and that was 2 teams out of that 5 log jam tie for first place and 7-5A. So now DeSoto able to create a little bit of breathing room as they're able to get a victory there.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Well, let's go from 7-6A to 6-5A, but staying in Mansfield. Zach, you went out on a limb, and you were the only one to pick Timberview.
I was very wrong.
Oh, you were very wrong.
Timberview really did not play well for me tonight at all. I was high on that offense. I knew it was going to be tough for them to go on the road and beat a Lancaster team, but these were 2 teams on paper that were very evenly matched. Timberview, the 13th ranked team in the area. Lancaster, the 9th ranked team in the area. I know Lancaster has a really athletic and good defense. I just thought maybe Timberview would score some points. They didn't.
Guys, do you hear anything but excuses coming from that side of the table?
I was very wrong.
Thank you. Give me some.
Okay, there we go. All right, Heckman's on my side.
I'm just glad you said it, and I have to seem like the bad guy. I'm already getting bully complaints from the listeners, so
man.
I'm going to leave
You're
it alone.
getting bully complaints.
You're
That's not
bullying Woolchuck.
Well, how about Lancaster?
It is true.
And Zach, I will give you props. Because you talked about the matchup next week between Lancaster and Highland Park.
Yeah.
That's going to decide that district.
And I'm more excited about that now. And absolutely, it's going
Yes.
to decide that district now. No question.
And
about
with
it.
this win, it gets everybody kind of a little bit more weary of what Lancaster can do. In Highland Park, like you said, it's not been challenged
guys,
in this district yet.
I have been beaten into oblivion when it comes down to Highland Park, and this won't be a game. Chandler Rogers is, come on.
You know
guys.
what? You're right.
My guy from Highland Park.
It's probably not going to be a
Chandler
game.
Morris.
Chandler Morris. is what I was
Chandler
thinking.
Rogers.
But
is
it's also at Highlander, and Highland Park doesn't lose at Highlander.
I mean,
if this game were in Lancaster, they'd have a shot.
Every time I see a Highland Park highlight, there's a wide receiver running by himself. So that's just the way it goes, and I expect the same thing next week.
Well, we got two matchups next week where the offense is with the Grapevine and Denton Ryan, offense versus defense, and then next week Highland Park and Lancaster. One great offense versus another great defense, man. That's going to be a really fun game.
Yeah, it is going to be a fun game to look out for, and we'll have a reporter at that one as well. We'll have extensive coverage next week here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. How about Wilmer Hutchins and Carter? This is a game earlier that Carter was just trying to hang around in a 6-1 Wilmer Hutchinson's team instead pulls a rabbit out of the hat, and by a rabbit, I mean their 7th win of the year.
And by a hat, you mean a head.
Exactly. 387 or 89 yards total for Wilmer Hutchins. You got 38 points on the board. Carter hung around as long as they could, but Wilmer Hutchins, again, one of the best stories in the entire North Texas area from a team perspective, and they get it done again.
Yeah, and look, for Wilmer Hutchins, this was a game where I think a lot of people thought maybe they'd stub their toe in this one. Carter's been playing really, really well, but they went on the road, and I know both teams do play at that same stadium, but still, it's a home game for Carter, and they took care of business, man. I mean, this is a Wilmer Hutchins team, another one of those in 4A, just everything's aligned. They've got a really good senior class right now, and they got a huge, huge win against Carter in district there.
Yeah, Wilmer Hutchins just took care of big business. Douglas Jr. took care of business.
He's the man.
Kedrick Chancellor, their running back, had 111 yards. Ball control was a big deal tonight for Wilmer Hutchins. Kind of slowed down that Carter Cowboy passing offense because they were taking it to Wilmer Hutchins in a lot of ways in that first half. They just didn't have any answers for the passing game.
They didn't, but they did shut down that Carter run, and I think that was a big, big reason for their success. They're late.
Yeah, definitely so. And we'll look at that game or look at that Wilmer Hutchins team later in the season because as of right now, they sit up at the top of that district. And if they can continue some of that success, like you said, Zach, could be one of the more enjoyable teams to watch. A couple quick scores to get with really fast. How about Mesquite Horn?
Tell me something good.
They get their first win of the year.
They did. Yeah.
Way to go.
24-6. Horns in the playoff discussion, baby.
I've been wrong for 7 weeks about Horn.
Yeah. You've been picking him every single week. And finally, this is the week Heckma puts in the Mesquite Horn pick, and it worked. I'm so glad I put it on the prediction segments. I did it for you, brother. You want to come and bully me? I still love you.
And now we got a Mesquite Horn team that starts at 0-7, still in the playoff hunt. And you have a Naaman Forest team that was started out 0-5 in there in the playoff
that
hunt.
Stunk for 7 weeks, and now they got a chance to come on and claw them back into the playoffs.
Yeah, I lost 70% of my games this year, but I went to the playoffs.
But I won 3 district games.
I
won 3 district games, and that's all that matters.
How about them apples?
How bad is
That's exactly what Horn's looking at. Yeah, Heath did not look good. But how about this matchup? We talked about this earlier, and it was also our final prediction game. Midlothian Heritage and Crandall. Who was the one that went for Crandall because of the defense?
Not me. I think Heckma?
I think it was Heckma.
No comment?
55-17, Midlothian Heritage wins over Crandall.
My guys.
Wow. Big time win. They had 21 points in the third, 13 in the second, 14 in the first. They didn't waste any time getting off to a quick start. And Crandall, with only their second loss of the season, Midlothian Heritage flexing the muscles a little bit and getting a big-time win in district play. Guys, let's go back up just real quick to Cedar Hill and South Grand Prairie. This was a game earlier in District 7, 6A that we looked at as Cedar Hill looking to kind of get off of a rough patch. They had that loss a couple weeks ago against Mansfield Summit, and then they were able to come back big last week against Mansfield Lake Ridge. They do get another win today. 22-7, the final score, Cedar Hill over the South Grand Prairie Warriors. And we've got Adrian Jagish with the head coach for Cedar Hill, and we'll have Adrian take it away.
Hi, guys. I'm here with Carlos Lynn, the head coach of the Cedar Hill Longhorns. Sir, how was this win for you tonight?
It was huge. You know, it's a district ball game. It's one step closer to punching our ticket to the playoffs. And that was our goal. Just win the ball game, ugly, pretty. It didn't matter. Just go win.
So the Warriors, they fought a good fight. Was this a hard game for you guys to win?
Absolutely. You know, they were 3-1. They had just as much to fight for as we did. So they put forth a great effort, and we was able to turn the tides in the second half. And sometimes that's what you have to do to win.
So this season, you guys are a powerhouse team. You guys have only lost 1 game. What do you tell your boys before every game?
You know, we just take care of this one at a time. Don't worry about what's in the future. Don't worry about what's coming in the future. Take care of now, and hopefully we'll be in good shape.
And last question, do you have any hopes for the rest of the season?
Yeah, you know, hey, we just want to take it 1 week at a time and hopefully look up. We're playing December 22nd in AT&T.
Awesome, congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You know, who were you with again?
That's exactly where Cedar Hill wants to be, is in AT&T Stadium playing for it all. And
he knows the date.
Oh, he knows the date. He's
Cedar
got it
Hill's
circled
one of those
there.
teams that
One
they
week
know.
at a time, but I know when the
But I know that 22nd of December, we're going to be there.
Christmas come early, hopefully.
Yep.
Yeah, those Longhorns, man, they're that loss to Summit. I mean, it continues to just be, and I talked about it earlier in the show, Eric, just an asterisk loss when you look at that ugly game. 10 to 12 fumbles, depending on who you ask. There might have been 20.
Torrential downpour.
I mean,
Yeah.
it just was a fluky kind of weird game. This Cedar Hill team is the real deal, without a doubt, one of the best in 6A.
Yeah, just outstanding from Cedar Hill and what they're able to do overall. But with that being said, Carlos Lynn, what a coaching job he's been able to do of being able to kind of turn things around after that loss to Summit and put up 2 impressive wins back-to-back. I mean, Lake Ridge and South Grand Prairie, those were 2 district tests that even heading into that district schedule, Cedar Hill knew was on the horizon, and he blew past both of those teams.
And I love that you say that, because this is a Cedar Hill team that underachieved last year.
Yes.
They shockingly had a very poor season. And then to rally the troops back with Shane Lawrence at quarterback, and like you said, only that one loss to just shake that off, come on back, 2 big district wins in that 7-6A District of Doom, man. It's huge. And coming up next week for Cedar Hill, they've got Mansfield, and that's a game they should win on paper, but we know, hey, the Tigers, despite the fact that they're out of it, they're playing tough football.
Look, Cedar Hill is a team that if you shake the roster, athlete will fall out, okay? They are not at a shortage. What they needed was a coach to lead them to where they're trying to go right now, and that's to the state championship. But make no mistake about it, in that district, another district of doom, that last game, you better circle it.
Ooh, at DeSoto.
DeSoto, November the 8th. You talking about athletes galore on that field, but it's going to be a tough matchup. Anyone that's going to take that district has to win that game, and I think Cedar Hill, just like everyone else, has that circled on the calendar.
Oh, I'm sure they do. I know they want a chance, Longhorns over the Eagles, to try and get that district title back into their hands. And like you said, after just kind of a disappointing season last year, in his second year, Coach Lynn has kind of figured some things out in that Longhorn
defense
team.
is unbelievable.
And that defense
And they played
is good.
great tonight. And we know SGP struggles on offense, but Cedar Hill's defense was locked down. Big shutout in that second half.
Yeah, definitely. So, guys, let's go through some of the 6A scores. Just run down the list really quickly. Some of the games that we haven't talked about as much throughout overtime here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. We've got a lot of Friday finals flowing in.
We do. And Coppell, they didn't need it from Caden Davis. His time expired tonight. Their team got a big win, 48-13.
Way to go.
At
Finally.
Irving. Now, Caden Davis might have had some action in there, but it didn't have to be a as time expired kind of field goal there for him. Rowlett, they bounced back from that upset loss to Wiley last week. They get a big 55-22 victory at home over Garland's. As we move along here, we talked a little bit earlier before overtime started, but Keller, they narrowly hold off TC Byron Nelson 36-34. Keller got that big victory. So Byron Nelson came back at the end there, made it 36-34. Onside kick attempt fails. Keller gets a district win, and Keller moves on. Look, they've only lost to Guyer and South Lake Carroll. They're definitely the third best team in that district. Plano East, we opened overtime with it. Double overtime in this one. They beat on the road McKinney 45-42, a game that a lot of people probably didn't think was so close, but for Plano East, a huge win. Also in 9-6A, Prosper beats Plano West 55-7. Big win for Prosper. Plano West has struggled this year. San Angelo Central 10-2 over Hearst LD Bell. North Garland beats South Garland 37-7.
Nice.
Arlington Bowie knocks off Fort Worth Paschal 40-3. Arlington Lamar keeps their great season going 55-7. They've got a big game looming against Arlington. Grand Prairie knocks off Waxahachie. The struggles continue for the Indians.
Wow.
20-6 Grand Prairie win there. Holtham's undefeated season, that continues, a 52-13 win.
Mike Black.
Yep, Michael Black, Heckma's guy, 52-13 over Richland. Holtham gets the victory. J.J. Pierce, they drop. It looks like they're in the fourth quarter. This game's taken a while. Lake Highlands is up 42-34 on J.J. Pierce. The Mustangs are driving. They've got a chance to tie that one up, so we'll have to monitor that. That might carry over to later. We'll post our final scoreboards. You can find that on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram, all the Friday Night Stars platforms. North Crowley goes on the road to Arlington. We talked about Bowie winning and Lamar winning. Arlington wins 52-19 over North Crowley.
And I've got a tidbit on that game. 15 completions for Jahari Rogers, the quarterback for Arlington.
Wow.
359 yards off of those 15 completions.
What did he have? 10 touchdowns too?
4 touchdowns.
He's just a Madden game, man. Jahari
really
Rodgers is outstanding. In that game, Arlington and Lamar is going to be a fun one. Those teams are legit.
Their senior receiver, Trey Cleveland, had 5 receptions for 197 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's almost 40 yards per catch.
Eric's a big fan of Trey Cleveland.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Why wouldn't you be?
Longview continues to roll in that district, coming over with that realignment, that same district with the Rockwall. They win 63-3. That's a top-heavy district, though. Really, Longview and Rockwall are all that's there. Richardson over Richardson Berkner, 34-20. Skyline rolls Malina 62-0 on that one. And then Duncanville flexing their muscle, man. They saw what Allen did. We'll get in the ballpark. 63-0. They blow out W.T. White. That defense has still only allowed 26 points the entire season. That's unbelievable.
Legendary.
And then Rockwall, also a blowout victory. Longview and Rockwall flexing their muscles 66-0. Rockwall all over Tyler Lee. And those are your 6A finals tonight.
Let's go from 6A straight into 5A. Eric, give us a rundown of what's going on at that 5A level.
All right, Birdville continues their awesome season. They beat Carrollton Newman Smith 49-21. Stone Earl, man, 4 touchdowns, 363 passing yards. What a night for Birdville. Carrollton Creekview 30-13 over Denton. Frisco Heritage beat Frisco Liberty 48-31. We know Frisco Reedy put it on Lebanon Trail right here at the Ford Center, 63-10. And then let's see here, Mesquite Poteet 41-19 over West Mesquite. My boy Dylan Wright only had 5 receptions, 45 yards. Mesquite Poteet gets the victory. Denton Braswell 45-10 over Princeton.
Wow.
Yeah.
Big time win for Braswell.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Mansfield Legacy beats Bryan Adams 56-12. Credit to Legacy, man. The injuries they've had this season, it's been a tough one for them, but we've seen it. They've been fighting. They've been in just about every single game.
Yeah.
And they go ahead and get the victory tonight.
They're still in the playoff hunt, man. Legacy's not out of it.
Yeah, no question. Just really, really impressed with that team and what they've done this year. Midlothian 34-23 over Burleson. And we talked about the Highland Park 72 smashing over Sunset. And then Red Oak 63-6 over Conrad. And Royce City 27-21 over Kaufman. North Forney 17-6 over Terrell. And Spruce 48-15 over Thomas Jefferson. And then lastly, Aledo 66-0. Sorry, Waco University and Kyle Young.
Don't leave Aledo out of it. They got to put their name in.
You never can. You can't count them out.
Goodness gracious, 66-0.
Yeah.
And that's a university team that didn't win a game in what? It was like 20
forever. And then there's Aledo, who's just the best team.
Yeah, man,
in
that's
Texas
tough.
at that level.
Aledo, outstanding. And finally, Heckma, round us out with some of the 4A and under scores.
Hey, I tell you what, I'm going to give some private schools some love because I'm tired of the complaints about private schools not getting any.
Let's do it.
Frisco Legacy Christian versus Fort Worth Christian. Fort Worth Christian down them 41-13. And Trinity Christian, Cedar Hill versus Dallas Christian. Primetimes, baby, had a big game. Shadur Sanders with 191 yards in this game. Yo, they completely dogged these guys from Dallas Christian, 37-16. Also, Fort Worth Southwest Christian beat Carrollton Prince of Peace Christian, 35-8. Arlington Christian versus Shelton. Arlington Christian won 35-20. And also in our game that we highlighted, Prestonwood beat Parish Episcopal 42-24. Also Midland Christian versus Fort Worth Nolan. Fort Worth Nolan won that game 42-13.
Outstanding from the 4A level. And guys, as we look at some of the best highlights throughout week 9 of Texas high school football, Eric, we'll start with you. Who's your star of the night?
It's an easy one for me tonight, boys. Backup quarterback for Fossil Ridge, Mr. Austin Stolman, comes in after the half, down 16-3, leads a storming comeback. Fossil Ridge beats Keller Timber Creek 20-19 on a game-winning field goal. Austin Stolman, you are my star of the night.
I love that pick. That's great. And the reason why behind it was awesome. Look, it was billed as the battle of the quarterbacks. It's PCA, it's Parrish, and Dylan Cadwallader comes out victorious. 379 yards, 4 touchdowns on the night to lead the PCA Lions to a Big Taps victory over Parrish.
Hey, guys, my player for the night didn't even play tonight, but he is the player of the night, Keidra Cobb from the Ken Geyer. Amazing. This kid looks like a young Jerome Bettis from Notre Dame. I'm telling you, he's running over people.
I'm going to go with a Thursday pick as well. Logan Brungart is my player to watch, but also you look at the field goal. It's a little bit smaller on the screen there, but My stars of the night always our Game On Sports Productions crew. Thanks so much for watching. Everybody involved, Eric Chiafalo, Zach Wolchuk, and Heckma Harrison. I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long from the Star in Frisco.